Hi everybody, this is Gregg Weldon with AnalyticsIQ. We are here for episode number 1 of Winning with Data. I am the Chief Analytical Officer here at AIQ, and part of my job is to update our data on a quarterly basis so that you have the most updated, most dynamic information possible. Now, as some of you may know, we have about 120 different data sources that we pull from in order to create the database that we have at AnalyticsIQ. And some of those data sources are fairly stable, like the Census Bureau. It doesn't change very often, every 10 years. We do get some annual updates, but it's pretty stable. We have other data sources, such as where we're looking at a census of religious organizations in America. That's very stable. Some of our econometric data, though, changes on a weekly basis, and then we have variables that change throughout. So what I want to do is pull data sets together every quarter and update every single variable that we have. And we have almost 2,000 variables at this point. And we recreate them from scratch based on all these data sources so that everything has been updated and is fresh and new and clean for you. Now, one of the things about the way we do this is fantastic because we have a lot of new variables and updated variables. The problem that we've had traditionally is we don't always tell you about these new variables that we've come up with. We're statisticians. We fall in love with our variables. We put them out there and say, oh, everyone's going to love these variables as much as we do. But if you don't know what they are, how are you going to realize that they're really useful for your business? So the point of this show is to let you know on a quarterly basis what we've come up with recently so you can see what it is. We can tell you about it, and you can say, you know, if this sounds interesting for your organization, maybe you can give it a test. We are always willing to let all our clients and potential clients test our data. Just tell us what you need. We can get you a data set. We can get you the variables, anything you need to take a look at it. So right now we are in build number 75, and this for the fourth quarter of 2017. What we've done this quarter is we've added 12 new variables. And of those, 10 are brand new, and 2 are redos of existing variables. We've really made some improvements on those. So what we want to do is take you through each one of those. First, though, we're going to start with today's inspirational quote. It is from Doc Brown from Back to the Future, his final line in the movie. And roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Why would this be our inspiration for today? Well, we have a series of variables we're rolling out for you that has to do with roads and with travel. Not with time, but roads and travel. So let's see what we've got. What's new for fourth quarter of 2017? Well, distance IQ. We have a series of 5 variables under the distance IQ logo that are going in. And distance IQ measures how far each zip 4 in America is from the nearest store location for this group of fine stores. We have Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, Sephora, and Casual Mail. So what we want to do is we want to find out in number of miles, and it goes 2 places past the decimal point, how far each zip 4 and basically how far each person is from one of these stores. Now, at AnalyticsIQ, most of our new variables that we create are team efforts. We all get together, we figure out a good idea for a new product, we have meetings, we get together, how are we going to do this, what's the best way, what data sets do we need, what data sources do we want to dig into, do we need to do some custom surveys, we pull everything together, we start building it, we find out that the plan didn't work, so we have to go back and say, now the data is telling us something different, how do we adjust for that? And through a series of meetings and teamwork, we come up with our final products. I tell you that because every once in a while, we have a product here that's the brainchild of one person. And Distance IQ was really the creation of Mike Haddab, who's our Chief Operating Officer. This is an idea he's had for years. And he's been talking about it, and there were some problems with how do you do this? He cracked the problem with how do we calculate distance for each thing with our latitude and longitude. How are we going to get all the store locations, store openings, store closings, and is it going to really be useful? So he was able to get together with some of our clients and asked if they'd like to do some beta testing. And they've been testing these variables for some time, and they found some really good results with them. They're not Walmart, unfortunately, but there's some other companies that can use these as well. These variables have been very handy for those clients. They're good for telling density. So in other words, if there is a Whole Food locally, there's probably going to be a pretty decent sized population in the area. If your company or if one of your clients that you're getting data for has a population that looks very much like a Walmart customer, then the distance from IQ from Walmart may be very useful for you. Same with Target or Whole Foods. They represent very different populations, and you may be able to find some use for these. Some of our clients have used these variables in models, and others have used them outside of models. So in other words, they'll have a model, and then they'll take that score and adjust it up or down based on the distance from one of these store locations. So in other words, if a company really focuses on a Whole Foods market type customer, they may go ahead and build their model, and they may adjust people's score based on if they're close to Whole Foods or far away from Whole Foods, that type of thing, because it would represent how likely they are to use those stores. So it's 5 different scores. We're committed to rolling out more of these over time. If your organization has an idea for another store that you'd like to see, maybe your own or one of the others, we'd be open to testing those out as well. We're also on an annual basis going to be updating these based on store openings and any kind of store closings as well. So those numbers will change. If Walmart opens a new store in a new location, then of course that's going to change a lot of the values. Average number of miles for Walmart, I think it's 5.2 miles for each zip 4 in America. That's pretty close. I think the casual mail was, I think, 43 miles was average. They have fewer stores. So that's just kind of interesting. I did check, and there are Walmarts in all states. And I didn't know they were in Hawaii, but it's kind of interesting to see. This kind of replaces, if you remember back in the day, the Census Bureau would sometimes, you could contract them to do concentric circles with maps of, here's your store location, here's everyone that lives within a 2-mile, 5-mile, or 10-mile radius, and they could do means analysis for you for a fee. Using something like this, you can do that yourself now. So it's kind of an improvement. Our next new variable is part of our Social IQ series of variables. As you know, we have like Social IQ, Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram, those things. Last quarter, we added Travel Advisor. This quarter, we're adding Pinterest. This score ranges from 1 to 7. A 7 means that someone really, really likes Pinterest a lot. And a 1 represents people like me who have no earthly idea what a Pinterest is. And then 2 through 6 is everything in between. So I'm sure Pinterest is a fine product, but we can measure how well someone likes it. Also, we have our next data is AIQ LGBTQ. And what this does is it measures from 1 to 7 the likelihood of someone being a member of the LGBTQ community. The 7 means very likely. A 1 means very unlikely. So that's a good range as well. Next, we have 3 variables that fall into our health and wellness fields. We've been doing a lot of health and wellness over the last year and a half because we are doing a lot of survey work. We work with a large national survey company, and we contract them to do surveys for us for new variables and new insights into customer behavior. We have done quite a few health and wellness variables in the past, and we continue to do those. The first one here is a wellness score, and it's actually called score_wellness, which means that I was out of the office the day they came up with a name for that, because that's a terrible name for a product. But this is a really great product, and it is kind of the culmination of a lot of these other health and wellness scores. It ranges from 0 to 99, and what we're trying to do is measure the health and wellness of each individual. A 99 means someone has a very high level of wellness, healthiness, and a 0 means very low likely. Now, we are not trying to say that 99s are all these giant, buff, super Olympians, and 0s are all older people. if that was the case, why would we have models? That would be silly. We just use age. What our wellness scores are trying to do is look at mind, body, and soul. We are looking at physical wellness. We're looking at emotional wellness. We're looking at mental wellness. We're looking at the entire picture of people. We want to see how well people cope with all of life's changes. So although we do have how much someone exercises and how physically fit they are, we also look at emotional stability. We also look at how well someone copes, coping mechanisms. We look at how people may turn to drugs or alcohol for dealing with problems. So we kind of take age out of the picture, not completely, but as the major field. Age may have been this important before, now it's this important. So we have some high-scoring elderly people. They may not be the most physically active, but they're fit, they're exercising, they're doing what they should be doing, they're following their doctor's orders, they have emotional well-being, they're stable, they understand themselves and their lives. At the same time, we have some young people in the prime of life who are scoring really low. They're sitting around playing video games, I don't know, but they're not very healthy. So this wellness score is a combination of a lot of our other scores that we have, including the next two we're going to talk about. But this is really kind of the big thing. We have used this now with some of our clients, and it is working fantastically. It's really giving people insights into the marketing data that they don't have with other variables. So this is something I would really recommend you test out just to see if it comes in for anything you can use it for. The next health and wellness score is junk food diet. This goes from 1 to 7. 7 means people like a lot of junk food. And 1 means they don't use it at all. They're vegans and that kind of thing. And then everything in between. And also we have a smoking model. We're looking at how someone's smoking. 7 means they smoke daily, multiple times a day. And 1 means they don't smoke at all. So those type things, of course, would enter into the wellness score, obviously, although generally on the lower end, pulling people's scores down. So give those a try. We also have updated 2 of our existing variables. This one I'm pretty excited about. First one is marital status. If you've been using AIQ Marital up through now, you know that we have married, inferred married, single, inferred single, and inferred widowed. And it's a really good score. We've been using it for a long time, and it's fairly accurate. What we've done, though, number one, we had some clients that weren't happy with the widowed part because they found that if they assumed someone was widowed and send them a mailing that inferred widowhood, some people did not like that, so they were kind of skipping that. Other thing was, we periodically will test our variables against some of our competitors to make sure we're number one. What we found, though, was one of our competitors was slightly better in marital status in terms of accuracy with real life than ours was. So we couldn't let that stand. So it was time to get back to the drawing board, start over from scratch, and also we had a chance to do some new techniques and pulled in some new data, and we have come up with AIQ Marital V2. This is somewhat different. Our categories are married, single divorced, and single other. Single divorced are people who had been married and they've been divorced and are not remarried. And single other are people who have never been married or the old inferred widow. So they're all included in one category. Married people make up about 48% of the population, so slightly less than half, which really kind of surprised me. And the single divorce makes up about 10% of the population, so the rest are single other. So that was kind of a surprise. I think that they said this is the first time in American history that single adults outnumber married adults. So it's kind of interesting. What we did was we did a lot of testing on this variable as we were building it. Again, we used some different techniques that we pulled out all the stops to try and beat our competitor. And what we found was when we compare this to actual survey data where we actually know the marital status on people guaranteed, our accuracy rate on this variable is 5% higher than the accuracy rate that we had before. and it's also higher than our competitors. So we're back to number 1. 5% better. Is that great? Well, our accuracy rates were already quite high already. So another 5% is really nice. It's hard to get much higher than that at this point. Marital status is one of the bread and butter variables, of course, when you're looking at any kind of marketing data. So we want to be the best at all of these. This was one of the final of the bread and butter variables that we had to recreate. As you may have noticed, we have recreated AIQ education last quarter, and we have also already done income, age, and gender as well. So all the big ones have been updated now, and we top our competitors. So that's a big plus. The other variable we've redone is ATP V2. This is ability to pay. Now, this variable goes from 0 to 99. 99 is 99% likelihood that someone has the ability to repay their debts. 0 means 0% likelihood. So the higher the number, the better. Now, I want to stress that this is the ability to pay, not the willingness to pay. As a lot of you know, willingness to pay is what we measure in banking through the risk scores. The FICO score measures a willingness to pay. Ability to pay is something different. These are people who may be totally willing to pay their debts back, but they just can't. These are people who get in over their heads for various reasons, maybe for medical reasons or divorced reasons, or they just charge up too many things, but they just cannot pay. So it's a totally separate thing from willingness to pay. So I want to make sure that those things stay separate. So this is a score that we had in the past. This new version utilizes some new updated data and some new survey information, so it's more accurate and gives you a little bit more information about that. So that's the 12 new variables that we've got for this quarter. 10 brand new ones and then 2 redos. We're pretty happy with those. So take a look at these. If something here appeals to you, let us know. Again, we can just contact our sales group. We can get you a data set out. It can be a big data set, a small data set, a customized data set. You can send us data. We'll append the variables to you if you'd like. If you already buy all of our variables and you already have everything, then you can take a look at it yourself. And if you have any questions, let us know. That's going to do it for this episode. Let's see here. So let's work on your game plan, and that's going to be it for us. So we will see you next quarter, and with a whole new series of variables and a lot of stuff to do. And we will see you soon.